Hey everybody, welcome to episode 5 of how to make a turn-based RPG in PRpject Spark. Last time we left off creating monsters randomly with our random number monster generator thingamajig, and today we are going to figure out how to make random encounters happen. And what we're going to start with is we're going to go ahead and delete these two players. We're going to assume you're just one player, okay? Now, what's going to happen is this. When we start, we want our player to be able to walk around. So we're going to say, when left stick, this is like super basic, when left stick, move, okay? When we move the left stick, the player moves around. Okay. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to add this. We don't want this to happen. So for now, we're going to go ahead and hit ignore. Okay? Now, we have this battlefield here. And what I want to do is I want to attach all of these to the center. So now what we have is we have this battlefield. And this battlefield moves around. Pardon me. This battlefield moves around. See? So I can put this battlefield essentially anywhere. What this is going to allow us to do is the battlefield, we're not going to have 4 of them. We're going to have 1, but we may have different positions. So we may have a grass battlefield here, a snow battlefield here, and a desert battlefield here. And if you're walking in snow, you're going to be sent over here. If you're walking in grass, you're going to be sent over here. Desert, you're going to be sent over here. And the center will teleport to whatever one we're going to, okay? So let's go ahead and figure out how to do this. As I've said before, I've done it in an RPG I made, but I'm going to do it step by step so you guys can see how to do it with me. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to show you that the project, it's not going to work as we want it to. The camera's still going to be over there. Goblins are still going to spawn. Everything is going to happen, but we don't want it to happen yet. We don't want it to happen yet. All of these brains are on. This one is not a template. This one, I believe, is just sitting there functioning as is. And we don't want this to be turned on. Properties, brain is active, false. We don't want this to be active. This one, it doesn't matter if it's active because this is a line of code that's going to be running all the time when we're in combat. But what we'll do is, so we're not wasting memory, we're going to turn this one off as well. We're also going to, whoops, I don't want that turned. We're also going to make this one a template. This one is a template. So let's go ahead and figure out what we are going to do. We're going to have this brain. That this is going to basically say our combat activate. Okay, this is our combat activate brain. When combat is activated, what we want to do is we want to activate this brain. We want to activate this brain, and we want to create. We want to create this brain. But we only want to do that once. So, we only want to create this once. We only want to do all this once. So after that, we're going to destroy this. But, or I guess maybe we can do that a little differently. But what we're going to do is we're going to start it again, and we're going to see where we are. The first person camera is still going to be inside of this camera here. Okay. And we obviously want to insert a new page, and we don't want that to be going. And we don't want this. We don't want this to be working either. Now, I don't know. I think what I'm thinking is that one won't be turned on unless the one in front of it's turned on. So let's go ahead and go into the player brain, and we'll put a follow camera back on it. I want to create a really cool camera system later on, but for now we're just using this follow camera system. And that camera is still working, so we're going to, whoops. We're going to turn off the camera also. So there's going to be basically a list of things that we need to activate when we enter combat. But none of the combat stuff is going to be on yet. So combat activate. Let's test this again. Alright, so we have this here. We have nothing else in the world. We have no monsters being created. We have nothing happening. What we want to do is this. We're going to create a logic cube. And this is going to be called, we're going to call it wilderness, or what do we want to call it? This is where we can enter combat. We'll just call it wilderness for now. Okay. And what's going to happen inside of this wilderness is this. When in trigger zone, do the countdown timer 1 loop encounter equals random number from 1 to 100 as integer. Then what we're going to say is when encounter is greater than or equal to oh, I don't know. Let's see. We're going to say, we're going to create this. It equals, we need to create a new value called player, okay? So it equals player. Okay, so we're going to know that if something is in this trigger zone, it equals player. We'll have to go ahead and rewrite this code later, because what if we have like a rock in the trigger zone? We don't want to do that. So what we'll do is we'll also say when we'll eliminate that right now. Can enter combat. Because what if we're like in a cutscene? We don't want to enter combat. When it can enter combat, let's see. When it can enter combat, we're going to do all these things, okay? So that's what we're going to do. So inside of this player brain, we're just going to create a line of code just for starting out. It can enter combat equals true. Again, this line of code will not always be here, but we will leave it there. Also, if you can drink a potion where you can't enter combat, maybe like for 30 seconds, you can make the potion just say can enter combat equals false. So it can enter combat. When that's true and when it's in this trigger zone, we are going to run this countdown timer of 1 second. It's going to be a loop, and counter equals random number 1 to 100 is integer. We are going to display what that number is at the top, at screen top center, if I can spell right. Screen top center, display encounter screen top center. When encounter equals greater than or equal to 100, which later on we will change this to something like max chance to enter combat or something like that. Okay, so that being said, we'll do 20%. When encounter greater than or equal to 20, what do we need to do? we need to run this line of code. It's not going to be active. We're going to delete this page. And down here, we are going to say brain is active equals false. So it's going to activate and deactivate. You can use power on. You can even make this a template and create it and destroy it, whatever you want. I'm just activating the brain and deactivating the brain. That's what I'm going to do. So let's see. When encounter greater than or equal to that object's in-world picker, brain is active equals true. And so we don't enter combat twice. We're going to say objects in-world picker. Oh, no, not in-world picker. We're going to say I had this player thing that I made earlier, right? And I didn't use it. I'm going to use it now. And we're going to say player equals it, okay? So now player can enter combat equals false. Then encounter is going to equal 0. We'll reset encounter to be nothing. So let's go ahead and let's see. Let's make this a template. Template equals true. And we're going to have combat zone. And we're going to paint some grass. This is going to be very, very basic. I mean, I'm not even gonna do anything too crazy with this. Bam. And we're gonna create some snow, and we're gonna create a desert, and I'll show you why in a little bit. Now here, you're going to create grass. Okay, super easy. Not do anything too crazy. We're gonna come here, we're gonna say sensors show trigger zone true, and we're gonna move this trigger zone right over yonder. We're gonna scale it to fit this grass. Okay, so that's our trigger zone. When we're in that trigger zone, it's gonna run that line of code, but right now there's nothing in here. So what we're gonna say is once we won't call page for now. We'll just do a add brain in world picker wilderness. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, so it created the players. Those monsters are looking at the player. And as we move the player over here, you will see the monsters rotate and look at the player. So what we need to do now is we need to tell the player to move to player start position. Okay, now does this needs to attach to that, and this needs to attach to that. So this is the player start position. So what we're going to need to do is when when the player can enter combat, let's see, player in combat, we're making a new guy, equals true. Now, we're going to come into this brain, and he's on this page right now, right? So he's on this page. And when we enter combat, what we're going to want to do is we're going to say, when in combat equal to true, we are going to switch page, and we're going to switch to this page called in combat. And what's going to happen when we're in combat is this. We're going to say do position equals player start position, position, and we are going to add brain, and this is all when page entered, of course. Objects in world picker combat 2 slot. Remember we did this earlier, right? We did this in the once side. We used to have this line of code. Actually, we can just grab it from here. We used to have that line of code on this page. Okay, it used to be right here without the ignore line. Now we're gonna grab it and we're gonna put it over here. Add brain combat 2 slot combat. Okay. Now, we are going to, let's see. We need to come back here and we need to say in combat. Is that what I called it? Yeah. When in combat equals true. Now, when in combat equals false, what do? We don't know yet. But we need to say, hey, when you get out of combat, you need to turn we need to switch page, switch page main, which I'm going to probably rename that later. I'm going to rename it to wander, probably, but we won't deal with that quite yet. So when combat equals false, we don't know how that's going to happen. I mean, we do know how it's going to happen, but the game doesn't know how it's going to happen yet. But when that happens, we're going to switch page main, okay? So let's see how this goes. Oh wait, there's one more thing that we want to do. We want to create a new vector. This is going to be position before combat. Position before combat. Let's make it a little shorter just so we can read it. So, position pre-combat. Okay, so this is our pre-combat position equals, what does it equal? That equals our position. Whatever our position is now, that's what it's going to equal. Okay, now here, we only want, I want us to know when we're inside of this trigger zone. So we are only going to display this when there's something in the trigger zone. So let's move that there. So at first, we won't see anything displayed on the top of the screen, okay? Nothing. Bam. Now there's something on top of the screen. Oh, and we hit 20 right away. And our player is not looking toward the monster. And he also went to position 3. So I'm not sure why he went to position 3. Maybe it's because we... Oh no, that was his position. That was his position that was set. Alright, so that actually worked, except for the fact that we were not looking at the enemy. My enemy equals enemy's nearest object turned toward my enemy. So why was that happening? I'm not sure. We want to make sure that he's looking the right position when he... so spot equals 3. We're going to just say spot equals 1 for now. But I need to know why he was not looking toward the enemy. let's do this. We're gonna create a countdown timer. Well, we can't really do that here. We're gonna say once switch page, rename page, battle starting. We're gonna call this battle starting, countdown timer 3. And we're going to have a duration timer of 3. And we're going to display outputs, timers, seconds remaining, screen top center, screen center, and we are going to modify that to be extra large font. And let's see if we can do this way. The battle begins in I don't know if that'll work. Oh, but that's not gonna work anyway. That's not gonna do what we want. So when that becomes true, after that happens, we need to switch page, combat. Man, my controller comes unplugged a lot. Sorry, guys. Alright, cool. Let's see if this works, and if so, we got ourselves another video. Alright. Bam, 0. The battle begins. Now we're still having the issue where the player is not turning toward the enemy. But that's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, it's gonna be bad. But yeah. So let's see. Let's say ceiling. Can we do that? Okay, that's what we needed to do. Okay. So, what I need to figure out now is why the player was not turning toward the enemy. Turn toward my enemy once my enemy equals enemy's nearest object. Interesting. Let's do this when let's just put that there. It's going to be constantly looking for a new enemy. Let's try this out. Rather than just running a once command. Okay, cool. That's it. Cool. Now it's his turn. Ah, that little hiccup though. Little hiccup in the code. I'm not sure why it happens, but we will figure it out. Anyway, we have the random encounters happening. We have the monster generator happening. We have commands. We have all sorts of things. In the next one, we will clean it up a little bit. Hopefully fix that little bug with the monster brains. I'm not sure why it's happening. I'm thinking it has something to do with the random number generator. Yeah, because right now we're rocking. Right now it's fine. So it looks like when he's flinching, it's when he's flinching that it happens. But I'm not really sure. Yeah. Anyway, that's what we have, and we will be fixing that bug and looking at a few other things when we get back.